Welcome inside the world headquarters of Callaway Golf in Carlsbad, California. We are pleased to be joined by, I think, the foremost expert in the wedge world. Roger Cleveland, how are you, sir?
I made a few of them. Thank you.
You have made more than a few of them. Back when this game started, whenever you want to cite the origination date of golf, no wedges. So when did this club enter our world?
Well, I think the wedge entered the world, I think, in the 20s, the official wedge. But they were. I have a collection of hickory clubs that go back before that in the 1860s, 70s, that kind of thing. But the flange, the real construction of the sole, widening the sole and changing the construction of how you relate to the turf, and you was really addressed starting in the 20s, still with hickory shafts. Mm-hmm. They started putting flanges, but the person who really put it on the map was Gene Sarazen. When he started, he was with Wilson, and he started doing some experimentation of wedge work and sole work and sand and so forth, and that's really where it started. And they did some beautiful wedges back in those days.
Well, we've come a long way since
then. We have.
Resting on your leg,
yes.
We have some of the newest, the latest and greatest from Callaway. And I'd like to have you start by describing and defining for everybody what the PM grind is, the definition, who it's connected with, and why it's special.
Well, it's connected with one of our staff members by the name of Phil Mickelson, who has extremely creative and probably the best short game in golf ever, which says a lot because there's guys that are really good, mm-hmm. But he is just kind of another level up because of his creativity, and one of the things that he joined us maybe 12, 13 years ago, and we actually named our standard wedge program, or the wedge, Mac Daddy, and that came from Phil. Okay. I mean, there's a lot of things that come from Phil. But this wedge, the history on it is that we made a wedge with the sole that he really liked, and but he got nervous when he got into rough. It was just a traditional size wedge from top to bottom, but when he got into rough, he would open up the face, and he was afraid that he would go under the ball. So one tournament, he put in his old ping wedge, which had a ping I2, which had a high toe, which extra real estate up there. And I found out, and I called him. I said, I'm not doing my job very well if I can't get you the wedge. And so what I did is I took two wedges, welded them together. One of our guys here, Perry Wall, did a beautiful job. And I took a Sharpie, and it was just a big chunk up on the top of a wedge. And I took a Sharpie, shaped out what I wanted, got on a grinder, did it, and then that added weight. And so I had to, drill out the holes in the back. He actually used that wedge. I was a prototype, and I took it to the PGA Championship in August about 5 years ago at Valhalla. And he almost won that. Roy McIlroy snuck past Phil and Ricky Fowler right at the end. There was some darkness, if you remember that. But anyway, we took it out there just to show him the progress we were making. He loved it. As a matter of fact, half of the wedge didn't have grooves because we took them out because they wouldn't be conforming if you had two different. So what we did is I took a Sharpie and just put, simulated grooves on there, so just to show him that. Yeah, exactly. But he loved it, and Chip Brewer, our wonderful president, just said, "Hey, we got to commercialize this," and so we did. And the first generation was terrific, and this is the second generation. This is the 2.0, he likes to call it, and we're calling it PM19 because it was introduced in 2019. But there's some changes from the first, and that's what I'd like to go over, some of those.
Sure.
So we actually raise the toe up a little bit. So when you open the face and get out of rough, okay, you have to stay away from this guy, right? And so you actually are decreasing the area that you can hit the ball on, okay? So, and you're also bringing the strike point up the face, and that's what he was having a problem with. So we actually raised this. We also put the grooves all the way out to the toe because you start to come out more, and he had grass stains way up here. The other thing we did on the MD4 wedge, our guys in R&D created a positive micro groove, and that is 4 positives, which are little teeth in between each groove, okay? And they go parallel with the groove. But on this wedge, we put them on a 20-degree angle, okay? And the reason we did that is you open the face, now that 20-degree angle is perpendicular to your line of flight, so you get a little bit more spin. And when you open and you're trying to hit a little flop shot or a little shot over a bunker, you need that control.
The fine point adjustments and all of this are remarkable.
Well, it takes at least 10 minutes to machine the grooves and those micros on one wedge.
I'm guessing back when you started in the wedge game, it took longer than 10 minutes.
Well, it didn't take any time. We cast the groove in. We didn't understand how critical the specifications and of the edges of the groove and so forth. So we do now, and we are right up to the edge of the USGA limit as far as spin and area and capacity and depth and width and all the things and radius on the edges. But it takes that much time, and we do almost 100% inspection.
On the off chance that some of those watching us don't have the quality of short game of Phil Mickelson, just hypothetically, what do you see as the most common error that amateur golfers make when it comes to the wedge game?
Well, trying to understand, when I talk about, there's a technique of pitching the ball in a bunker technique that is really kind of different than your big swing. And I think most amateurs, I mean, I'm talking about a shorter shot, a 30-yard shot or 40-yard shot even, but 30, 40, 20, a little pitch shot, okay? They try to miniaturize their big swing, and it's you don't ever want to decel. And typically when you have a lot of set in your big swing, which is fine, and you'll do the same technique on your smaller swing, okay? And it doesn't work. You actually have to slow down your body and everything to let the club head come down to the ball. You need to use the sole, okay, in pitching the ball, and certainly in bunkers. You need to activate the sole. And in the sole, we've actually changed the sole. It's one of the things we changed from the 19 from the original PM wedge. We actually widened the sole and added 1 degree of bounce. So it's really like a mini sure out, okay, very forgiving. And we have a lot of relief on the heel and the toe, so you can open it up, and that when you open a wedge up, it increases the bounce, so it increases the height of the leading edge. But when you relieve the heel here, that keeps the leading edge low, and you can slide under the ball when you open it up. So it's extremely versatile. And we have it nice and tight here, so you can have less displacement out of sand and rough, okay, easier to get out. We've added some offset, okay, on this wedge, a progressive offset that is a little bit more in the higher lofts, and it starts to move down less as you go down into the 54. We have a new 54 now, so it's 54, 56, 58, 60, 64. Obviously, we have left-handed. And we have a beautiful Tour Gray, which is a PVD over chrome.
That is sharp.
Just gorgeous.
That is sharp.
Yep.
And one of the lessons that we've learned today, Mr. Cleveland, is that the phrase activating the soul isn't just for church. It works in the world of golf as well.
Well, we all need a little bit more soul.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
But you need to use that. And if you're steep, you tend to have the forward shaft lean. You take the bounce off. You need to skid. A definition of a pitch shot is actually letting the club come in contact with the ground and let it slide through the ball. A chip shot and a full shot, you're hitting the ball first. A pitch shot, actually, you're letting it slide. So
the spatula approach.
Exactly. So the less set you have, the more you can actually create more speed and be shallow into the ball and let it slide through the ball. So that's the technique. And also, take some lessons in the short game. Phil Mickelson isn't great in the short game without lack of practice. He practices. All those guys practice a lot because they miss greens. We all miss greens. I miss so many greens that I don't.
That's why you're the short game guru.
Well, I have lots of practice, but take a lesson next time instead of going out and just hammering some drivers. Okay, it's the fastest way to improve your game and increase your enjoyment.
Well, I could talk
and this
with
wedge
you.
is amazing.
I could talk with you all day about this stuff. You're a fountain of knowledge, and we sure appreciate the impact you've had on the game over all these years.
You.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Pleasure.